have him on. That before we go any further, there's been some shocking news that's been breaking all across the Sunday newspapers that people in Glasgow have been playing music after 3 o'clock in the morning. So we've had a very special report from Finnieston Exposed, who have been investigating the situation further.
There has been reports of people partying after 3 a.m. all across Finnieston and wider areas in Glasgow. Many are said to be consuming alcohol, cheap alcohol, and rumours have it that some of the party people, as they call themselves, are potentially on illegal substances, aka drugs.
God, I'm a journalist. Yeah, I'm a journalist. I mean, I kind of enjoyed it. I mean, I had, I was undercover, so I had to fit in. So I had at least 5 vodka and orange juices. They didn't have any cranberry, obviously. So I just did a vodka and orange juice. I had about 5 of them, and I had a tenor Eckie, and it was bloody good. It was bloody good. I didn't feel so good the next day, and I blame them. I point my finger at them. They take the blame for my choices.
You're just on a night out with your pals, your pals from radio, other media outlets. Yeah, there was press there. I thought it was a launch night. I thought it was one of these crazy launch nights, pop-up launch night. But yeah, I got handed a can. I tasted it. And it was Red Stripe. First, I had to double take it because I had a few. I thought, is that Blue Stripe? But you know what? It just didn't taste licensed.
The music on the radio, I don't even know where you get that kind of music. There was hardly any singing at all.
And I've been a radio DJ for close to a decade now, but I'd never heard music quite like it. When you were young and your mum or dad would come into your room and say, turn that bang bang music off. It was the first time I've ever felt like my mum or dad. All I could describe it as is bang bang music.
It was quite upsetting. It was too loud. It was too loud.
But the people, and don't quote me on this. This isn't verbatim. But the way I was led to believe it is the people playing the music are the groove mechanics, and the people dancing to the bang bang music are revelers.
I got a memory like a bloody sieve. I couldn't be a grass because anything somebody tells me, I fucking forget it. Anyway.
We should revel in the grass. We should go outside and revel in the grass. Revel together.
At what time do you think that we should stop revelling in the grass?
When time is a completely natural thing, reveling is reveling when the music...
We need times, though. We need times. There needs to be rules, and there needs to be rules. There needs to be things.
Colonel said the tune mechanics and the revel.
The groove mechanics. You think I'm talking about the groove
mechanics. And the
revelers, yeah. The groove mechanics are playing the music and the revelers are dancing.
Wild buggers. We're real wild buggers.
When I looked at the walls, they were made of brick. You remember, I don't know if you remember the programme Prisoner Cell Block H, where the bricks start moving when the door's shut. And I don't know if it was what I'd been drinking that night. And I did touch them, and they were actual bricks. It wasn't plastic or wood. They were bricks. But it just felt as if the walls were moving. They may well have been unlicensed bricks. I had a look at some of them, and there was one brick that was actually from Glenboig, which I know from the history of bricks, that bricks haven't been made in Glenboig for decades. So I don't know what a Glenboy Brick was doing at that party, but by God, it was there.
Everyone kept saying, "Are you having a good night? Are you having a good night?" I felt fairly threatened. Fairly threatened. But these are strangers.
I think so. I think, you know, I'm not saying it was a monolith, but when I walked in there, it certainly had a retroness about it.
And the venue itself is only a mile away from a school, you know, and it makes you think that, you know, just a mile away. Um, you know, obviously not at that time in the morning because it was on at 5 in the morning. But imagine 48 hours in the future. So a mile away, there's school children going to school, setting about their day, our future.
There, you know, we found out the next day. Well, it was one of my friends text me, and they said, "You do realise that the club was within a 2 mile radius of a school, in a primary school, not a high school, a primary school." And to be honest with you, it made me feel sick.
The poor little kids, you know, they don't even know it's happening. What you tell them?
48 hours later, these kids would be walking to school, potentially walking past or driving past in a taxi or in a bus. This building that less than 2 days before, bang bang music, after 3 a.m, unlicensed lager, Glenboy Bricks. It was, for me, it was a big wake up call, you know, but I'm not part of that. I was just there.
They were inhaling chemicals, like with their nose. They were inhaling chemicals with their nose, and I think it was cocaine. You know, I seen them. Well, I know it was cocaine because I took some. I took some of that. I took some of the cocaine, so I know what it was. I know what it was because I took it just to make sure what it was. Because I'm a journalist. I'm a journalist, and I wanted to make sure. So I inhaled the cocaine of a Yale key.
It's shocking to me that anyone would snort off of what it's like the most synonymous brand of key, Yale. You know, for your next line, what brand are you going to desecrate next? Armitage Shanks?
Nobody was taking selfies, you know. Nobody was taking selfies. It was like some unwritten rule that, you know, that you should just dance.
To be fair, everybody seemed to be having a great time. It was, you know, there was no trouble whatsoever.
It was very relaxed, you know. Everyone was having fun. I couldn't say there was any trouble whatsoever, but I kind of had a feeling that it was lurking there, you know. Kind of had a feeling that it could have kicked off at any time. No, I didn't see any evidence of that at all. You know, no one was growling at each other. Everyone was very pleasant and dancing and having fun. But you just wonder, it could have just kicked off. What if it just kicked off? You know, what would have happened? What would have became of us all? What would become of us?
It just felt like a licensed club without the license, up until the point where I walked up to the bar and they were selling supermarket branded vodka.
Plan for these things so that it causes the least amount of disruption. So, like, they don't do it on Monday mornings when people are going to work, because if they did it then the people would disrupt things, and people would know it was them having the fun, and that's the only reason that they don't rave during the day on Mondays.
The strangest thing on the way out, because apparently there's a building site nearby, and on the way out they said just try and keep it down a wee bit because there's some work going on a couple of blocks away. Just try not to make a nuisance of yourself.
So that they're not disturbing anyone and the volume doesn't, no one can hear them doing it, you know? So no one's actually getting disturbed by it, which I think is really sneaky of them to do that. It's sneaky. I don't like it.
I was wondering, why are these unmasked hoodlums asking people to keep the noise down on their way out of the Bang Bang Club?
I think it's, you know what, I'm doing a public service by unmasking these men. They need to be unmasked, you know, so just unmask them, you know, like a Scooby-Doo thing.
You know, it was bizarre.
Read your friends.
Well, you know, when you're at Henley or, you know, even Hamilton Racecourse, you're going to have a hoo-ha. You're going to be shouting hoorah to your pals, you know. No, in a licensed premise, there was never any mention of respecting thy name.
My ears are bloody full of tinnitus, right? But if you give me a cheap vodka and tell me that it's fine, you know, then
If I have the option of tinnitus or a few years of reveling, then I'm going to choose reveling every day.
If it was up to me, the illegal raves would be banned. They would be made illegal. You know, the illegal raves should be illegal.
Have you ever seen, I don't know if you're a Hanna-Barbera fan, have you ever seen Hanna-Barbera Scooby-Doo? Yeah. Well, at the end of each episode, they unmask the villain. I think these villains need to be unmasked.
So I feel like it's only right to name and shame these people. And I think that, you know, it's right to shame these people that put on a night that we all enjoyed. I think that by naming and shaming them, it will ruin their careers. And do I feel bad about that? No, of course not. It's good for my career. And that's the most important thing. As long as I'm all right, that's all that matters. As long as I'm achieving my goals, then...
Incredible report from Finnieston Exposed, and disturbing report as well. I thought the youth of Glasgow were better than partying at 3 o'clock in the morning.